everybody, DeathsStalker there. So I thought I'd talk to you today about camping at the racetrack. And oh joy, how much fun it can be. Or how much hell it can be. So start off, have any of you ever been camping at, like a provincial park, a state park, all that sort of thing, and you think about how nice and great that is? That's not racetrack camping. Think about the worst campground park you've ever been to, and that would probably be a 10 out of 10 compared to what you get at a racetrack. Most racetrack areas, the camping as far as for the racers go are basic. I've been at a few racetracks where they didn't even have water, so you had to bring your own. Most of them would only have 1 or 2 bathrooms, and they would be in a very, very sorry shape. Now the other thing is, privacy is almost non-existent. You're basically parking in a field with nothing around you except other racers. If you're lucky, the driving area of the race, the paddock area, is paved, so that you can actually drive your bike without tracking dirt and mud and grass clippings all over the place. I have been at a few tracks where it was gravel, which was very annoying because if you come off a track with hot tires and you hit gravel, basically your bike instantly becomes gravel coated wheels, and it's not pretty. So that's part of it. Now the second part is that firewood is almost exclusively not available. You either have to bring your own, or you have to buy it from places near the racetrack. Sometimes the racetrack sells it as well. We were lucky at one track we raced at. They seemed to get what was called slabs, which was the outer pieces of bark from a local lumber mill that didn't want to take them, and they just drop off these 10 to 20 foot slabs of wood that were usually anywhere from a ½ inch to an inch thick, but they were like full of knots, and they were not like anything that could even return anything other than sawdust. So then there's the food at the track. Now when you watch the Grand Prix and you see these fantastic, beautiful racetracks with food and all kinds of stuff, at the smaller tracks you'll be lucky to get like hot dogs or sausages or maybe a piece of pizza or whatnot. I remember the one track we raced at for a long time had horrible food. Then they had a vendor who started selling pizza, and he probably made more business the first 2 weeks, first 2 race weekends, than all the other guys had made in the last 10 years. And the pizza wasn't great by any standards, but it was better than anything else they sold there. So a lot of times what you end up doing is bringing your own barbecue or coal, wood-fired grill, whatever. I had a propane camping barbecue that I used, so I could actually cook steak and baked potatoes. I had a grill thing that would it was a camper slash toaster that would actually run off propane. It actually could help heat your tent, and more importantly, could actually turn your bread into toast for breakfast. And like the more I did it, the more I started packing more camping equipment. You get up in the morning at the racetrack and it's cold and damp, and you're like, even in the summertime sometimes it's freezing, so you get up and you're trying to get warm, and then you kind of wake yourself up. Some people brew coffee. This was actually before Red Bull days, just so you know. So there was no Red Bull or Monster. If you wanted to open up in the morning, you had yourself a stiff cup of instant coffee, and it was brutal. You also learn to bring chairs. You'd start off by sitting in your toolbox, but eventually you realize you kind of needed your toolbox. And if someone was using the tools, you had no real place to sit down. So you started bringing camping chairs. Now, again, this is all tent camping and so forth. There was other camping, you know, where people actually brought camper trailers or they brought motorhomes. We considered those people to be rich because everyone else was more or less pouring all their hard-earned money into the race bikes. But we did admire those that actually had, you know, hotels on wheels. Now the other thing that you don't take into consideration is showers. And very few racetracks had showers. If they did, they were pay, so you had to pay to use them. They weren't necessarily, again, maintained in the best condition. Just remember, camping was a sideline at the racetracks. It wasn't their primary means of operation. Did it, the more you got used to, you know, bringing your own food, making certain you brought a good tent that actually could, you know, keep you dry. I actually had a two-room tent that was supposedly able to hold 10 to 12 people. In reality, it held me, and in the front room is where I kept my race bike. So on those nights when the mosquitoes were out there trying to eat people alive, I was working on my race bike. If it was pouring down rain, I could work on my race bike and be dry. I used to actually put indoor-outdoor carpeting on the inside of it just to keep the floor from getting punctured by little pieces of safety wire and whatnot. They were getting ruined by oil and stuff being spilled. How to adapt and survive. There was a lot of people who slept in their vehicles, their vans, their cars, trucks, whatever. There was a lot of people that you know, that actually would stay in hotels. You know, there was in a good chunk of the racetracks, there was hotels nearby. Not necessarily fantastic hotels. In some cases, they were like hotels left over from the 60s and hadn't been really updated. Like they might have been clean, but they weren't modern at all. But the vast majority of people actually stayed at the track. You know, when you went to the bigger circuits, some of the big tracks, you weren't allowed to stay there. They actually would kick you out. So a lot of guys actually had camping areas, you know, might have been 10, 20 miles away because that's as close as they could get. But overall, the majority of people just camped at the track and sort of hung out there. It was kind of interesting because you had some interesting friends and whatnot you met there over time. Little picnic area here. So anyways, camping at a racetrack was never a pleasure. It did create you know, some interesting stories. You know, you made some friends there. It was sort of like when when there's people on the street and there's a big rainstorm, everybody sort of hides under the roof of a building there to sort of wait for the rain, how they become friends. Well, that's sort of what you end up at the racetrack. You know, your people next to you, you know, most of the cases are actually pretty good. You always had somebody playing music really loud or having too big of a party too late at night when people were trying to crashes and go to sleep, not crashes and crash the bike. But overall, it was you know, memorable experience, let's put it that way. If I had to do it again, I would much rather stay at a hotel and have a nice warm shower and a hot meal, and you know, not get woken up by having a vintage bike starting his bike up at 7 o'clock in the morning to make sure the work he had done in the middle of the night under a lantern was the right repair. So anyways, hope you found that kind of interesting. DeathsStalker signing off.